So let's try to wrap up so we get to the question and answer by talking about, okay, so I've been talking about a federal program, but we can do a lot with this at the state and local level as well. I think we have to face the fact that the prospects for an eco-socialist Green New Deal from the Democrats we got now, let alone the Republicans, are zero. So our focus in terms of our activities should be on public organization and mobilization. We've won the debate. I mean, all the polls about a Green New Deal show well over 60% of the people want one. So, you know, we're not doing this with expectations that we're going to get much from the people in office now, but we want to lay the political basis. And hopefully for getting Greens into the House, I think that's where we can get into Congress first. So we need to organize and mobilize to translate the public opinion that's already with us into public power. So, you know, our candidates for the House and Senate, you know, should campaign on this federal eco-socialist Green New Deal and challenge their opponents to say yay or nay on the whole idea and the pieces of it, and make it a real debate and show the people that, you know, the Green Party has got real solutions. In terms of outside the electoral arena, there are a lot of fights going on, particularly to stop new fossil fuel infrastructure and to ban fracking. And we've been winning some of these, like we did get Keystone stopped. We have got others stopped. We have a number of big fights going on now. The Dakota Access Pipeline for the fracked oil from the Bakken field in North Dakota is still ongoing. Big fights over Enbridge Lines 3 and 5 through northern Minnesota and Michigan, and a little bit of Wisconsin. That's tar sands from, you know, the Alberta tar sands. That's what Bill McKibben famously called a climate bomb. Those fights are still going on. Big fight over the Mountain Valley Gas Pipeline from Northwest West Virginia to Southern Virginia. We got to push for a permanent rather than temporary ban on drilling in the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge. And we got these pipeline fights all over the world. I mean, there are indigenous Siberian people in Russia trying to stop, you know, their land from being, you know, gridded, networked with oil pipelines. And, you know, it's very dangerous, but they are speaking up despite the repression there. And I just heard about a proposed 900-mile oil pipeline from Uganda to Tanzania. So, you know, the first thing we got to do is stop building this infrastructure, because the corporations, once they build it, they want to, you know, make money off it for 3 or 4 decades. And that just locks us into climate catastrophe. And then in terms of local and state action, what we can do is propose that our states and our municipalities, our counties, have a plan to get to zero emissions and 100% clean energy. And we can't fund that all with the tax resources we have at the local and state level. So we should figure out what we can fund, and that brings up the issue of progressive taxation, but also then what we demand from the federal government so we can make this transition at the local and state level. I think a big thing we should be demanding is public power, municipal power utilities, or a state public energy system, or a combination, a federation of municipal public power districts federated at the state level for statewide coordination. Because then we'll have the power to choose renewables and to mothball the old carbonized generation plants and to build the smart grid we need for the distributed nature of wind and solar and other distributed renewable energy sources. You know, if we don't have that, then the utilities are just going to keep using their old servo mechanical grids built around centralized power plants. You know, coal, more gas now, as well as nuclear. We can demand public microgrids through this public energy system in neighborhoods. We should push for the public power agencies as well as public banks to finance retrofitting our buildings, because most people can't afford up front to, you know, put in heat pumps, efficient appliances, like convection ovens and induction stoves that are electrified, solar panels and micro wind where it's appropriate. But by financing this upfront, the people that take the loans out can pay them off, because once you got these renewable and efficient retrofits of your buildings, you don't have fuel costs every month. You don't have to pay for that gas or that heating oil. And that difference enables the consumer, whether it's a household or a small business, to pay those loans back. And that's got to be done if we're going to make this transition in our buildings, because most people can't afford the upfront costs. Net metering is another policy, so that if you're producing energy, the utility has to pay you for it at the same rate you pay them when you pull power off the grid. So we should be pushing for municipal and state Green New Deals. And then the last thing, which I think is something that is a very focused and good demand, is, most municipal governments have planning boards or agencies, but the way most of them operate is they just sit back and wait for private developers to come in with proposals, which they generally rubber stamp, because the real estate industry runs most municipal governments. We need to flip that on now and make the planning board or the planning agency, or maybe we need to transform the planning board into a planning agency that makes the plans that we want to implement, and then bids out to construction firms to build those plans. And I think that's an area where, once you get in fighting the planning board, you're getting into a whole lot of issues related to the Green New Deal with respect to affordable housing, desegregation of housing, which also means schools. I mean, there's just a whole lot of issues that we've left planning pretty much neglected. The left at the local level has not really dealt with that. So those are some ideas on how you can push the Green New Deal forward at the local level.